Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. As you can see from the title of this video, I wanted to talk about the lore surrounding Free Realms. I've made a video like this before, but I extended it by talking about the new lore for Free Realms Sunrise, which is now obsolete as there is no longer anyone working on the expansion of lore, questlines, or new content until the game is finally released in its original form. I've unlisted that video from views so it does not spread any false information, but wanted to replace it with something that still talked about the lore and the main questlines from the original game. I don't know about you, but as a child, I didn't exactly pay attention to the backstory about the world of Sacred Grove, which is where we spent many precious years of our childhood. As we anticipate the arrival of Free Realms Sunrise, I wanted to give a refresher on this topic because for a children's game, Free Realms actually has some pretty cool lore, so let's get started. Though this information is not mentioned much in the game, it is briefly covered in the comic books and in Memorial Caverns where you can view half of the Heartseed that came from the World Tree, as well as a few dialogue pieces from NPCs, and all of this is located in Sanctuary. Surrounding the Heartseed are several murals which depict the story from the time before Queen Valerian Darkthorn and their messy family drama. A long time ago, all of the races, the humans, the pixies, the dwarves, and the elves lived in harmony together in Sacred Grove. The leaders of these various races formed the Gleam Council to protect and guide all of Sacred Grove's citizens. This was known as the Age of Harmony. However, as what typically happens in politics, the leaders did not always get along and gaps formed between them. An opposing council called the Gloam Council was formed through these discourses. They wanted to control all of the realms because they believed that they were best suited to tell others how to live their lives. The Gloam Council was very secretive and practically formed under the noses of the Gleam Council and the rest of the world. They grew more and more powerful in their secrecy until it was too late. The Gleam Council had created an ancient artifact that can bind all magic, and because all living things in Sacred Grove have some form of magic inside of them, the artifact could essentially control all of the realms. Though incredibly dangerous and widely successful, the artifact could not bind all living things, and a select few escaped its curse. This event became known as the Binding. The majority who were affected by the artifact carried on with their daily tasks, but had no happiness within them. They were essentially mindless drones working for the benefit of the Gloam Council. A few heroes who were not affected by the Binding banded together to plan the destruction of the Gloam Council and their dangerous weapon. The heroes spread word to all the races about the Gloam Council's dark deeds and warned them to flee. They approached the tower where the artifact was being held, fighting their way through powerful wizards and other ferocious enemies. Once they finally got inside, they used their combined powers to breach the magical barrier around the artifact and shatter its physical shell. As the artifact was destroyed, destroying the heroes with it, it sent a magical tidal wave across the land, thus making a post-apocalyptic wasteland. As the heroes fought, the races retreated. The elves created the crystal barrier, which can be seen in Snow Hill, the dwarves hid in the mountains, the pixies burrowed underground, and the humans sailed across the sea. Not much is known about how the other races spent their time before emerging from their hiding places, other than the pixies. The pixies would send scouts above ground to explore the wasteland created by the Unbinding, but found nothing other than ruin. However, the pixie scouts eventually came across a group of changelings, which were pixies who were stuck above ground during the Unbinding. Changelings are bitter creatures with torn wings and branch-like limbs considered ugly and outcast by the pixie race. The arrival of the changelings encouraged brave adventurers like Ayani, a druidess queen of the pixie people, to explore the world. Ayani decided to venture outside of the caves alone, and when she saw the desolated world before her, she remembered her time as a child where there were trees, flowers, rivers, and other living things. As she remembered this, she began to cry, and her tears were so sorrowful that they began to form rivers, lakes, and streams. The tears that touched the ground brought plants like flowers and grass. The other pixies were so amazed at what they saw and emerged from the caves to coax life back into the world. When Ayani passed away, she left behind the Heartseed, and this was nurtured by the royal family until it formed the World Tree where the royal pixie family still resides today. And that brings us to present history. As a player, it is your job to continue the story several generations in the future. Unfortunately, the main quest was discontinued when Free Realms shut down, so we only have the beginning pieces. The events that brought us Sunstone Valley was likely beginning the second chapter, but we never saw Chapter 2's official release. There were also plans to introduce 2 new areas, likely each continuing the story. There's Silver Hills, the home of the elves, and likely accessible through the crystal barrier. This was indicated on the map by a grayed out area and an arrow pointing northwest of Snow Hill. There was also Lavender Coast, also grayed out and located south of the map. The next part of this video contains spoilers of the main story quests and Gloam Invasion, which led to the release of Sunstone Valley. Please tread carefully if you don't want to hear any spoilers. The player character dives into the main story, which is almost exclusive to paying members, though in Freedom Sunrise we will all have access to these quests since our accounts will automatically have memberships. We meet Queen Valerian, who is the ruler of all the pixies in Sacred Grove and a direct descendant of Ayani. Valerian took over the throne when her parents were assassinated by what is presumed to be her sister, Princess Lavender. Princess Lavender was exiled along with a number of Chuggawugs and fled Sanctuary, but not before stealing half of the Heartseed. Princess Lavender changed her name to Darkthorn and grew a second world tree with the Heartseed, located in the northern area of Briarwood called Briarheart. Through a series of quests, the player character learns that Jeffrey, the queen's most trusted advisor, poisoned her parents and blamed it all on Darkthorn and the Chuggawugs, resulting in their exile. The player also learns that Jeffrey is poisoning the queen. At the end of the first chapter, the player faces Jeffrey and delivers the antidote provided by Darkthorn to the queen, saving her life. For a while, these were the only story quests we received until 2012 when the Gloam Invasion in Shrouded Glade happened. These events were possibly foreshadowed by a couple of children NPCs in Memorial Caverns years prior. The first boy says, "And now everything is alive on the surface again thanks to Ayani, so now everyone is out and making friends again." To which the second boy replies, "You clearly paid attention during the tour," a little sarcastically. The first boy then says, "But if the Gleam Council came about during the Age of Harmony, when everyone was working together, is there anything stopping them from coming back now?" During this event, Shrouded Glade was renamed to Shrouded Gloam, and upon logging in, the player was prompted by a pop-up with some images and text that said, "Another beautiful day comes to an end in Shrouded Glade. Everything is peaceful and calm like always, or is it? The animals sense danger, something is coming. Stones filled with dark magic erupt from the ground, and darkness spreads throughout Shrouded Glade. Even the animals are changed, twisted into dangerous creatures. Then, mechanical monsters arrive, and they only want one thing, to destroy. Archdruid Camellia gathers her druids and tells them to retreat. She alone will stay and guard the Druid Academy. The Gloam Invasion has taken over Shrouded Glade, turning it into Shrouded Gloam. Help the druids and dwarves defeat General Drock and all of his evil minions." The player had to read all of this to prompt a quest from Queen Valerian, where she had a dream that Shrouded Glade was under attack. When she woke up, she found her royal guard had gone to help the Druid Academy fight the Gloam army. The player was also introduced to dwarves who belonged to a biker gang in Sunstone Valley. The player could choose to help either the dwarves or the druids defeat the Gloam, as neither side was getting along. Completing the Gloam Invasion questline gave you the opportunity to help the other side, and this questline eventually led to the release of Sunstone Valley. A few years after the release of Sunstone Valley, Free Realms unfortunately saw its sunset. We never got to explore why the Gloam Invasion happened, if it would happen again, or how we would stop it, though I assume this was all going to lead into other chapters of the main story questline. So, where does this lead us for Free Realms Sunrise? We know that the dev team is hard at work at replenishing the original game. Mayhem has expressed an interest in creating new quests, and I'm sure that the main storyline will receive some love and attention. However, we don't know the exact plans for this, and I'm sure it will be a really long time before we receive any new content that will continue the story. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. All the information in this video can be found on the Free Realms wiki page if you would like to look at it for yourself. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all next time, hopefully for the release of the brand new website. Bye guys!